Okay, good morning.
I'm sure I have it all.
This is the first day that I'm teaching the morning class. And so what I'm going to do is go back with y'all, and I'm going to go back to the beginning. My evening class has been studying negatives and positives, how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll begin with that. And then the rest of the week, we're going to work on simplifying equations, because we found out that simplifying equations is the basis of everything that you're going to be doing. Everything. So how far do you feel like you are? I don't know anything about your progress or anything. Have you taken a practice test?
I took the practice test, I think back in, I think in May or April.
Okay.
And I made a 137. Yeah.
You're getting close.
So I get more in between the expression, how to do a simplifying. I think that's why I had trouble.
How to do what?
Simplifying
Oh,
the
yes,
expression.
yes. Okay.
And
So
I think the slopes.
So this morning, I may be able to go a little faster with the basics and just make sure you speak
That's
up
fine.
if there's a place that we missed.
Okay.
Good morning. Will you sign in, please? Are you awake yet?
Mm-hmm. It was in our class. Gone, right? What was your name?
Jesus?
Jesus, yeah.
Miss Kim speaks highly of y'all.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart though. Sweet.
And all you have to do is just be 6 feet away from everybody. So if you want to come up here, I'm going to be recording the Zoom for the night students right now. So that's why the laptop is here. Okay? And every once in a while, if somebody asks to come in, I'll need to go back over there and interrupt. So what I'm going to do today, Jesus, is start at the very beginning. I'm going to start with negatives, positives, fractions, and then we'll go straight to solving equations. How do you feel like you're doing in the class? Do you feel like you are close to testing? Do you feel like you've got a lot still to do?
Is it okay if I put my vote?
Yes. Yes, it is okay. Okay. Okay, let's get started then. I want to talk about fractions first. Okay. Now, in a fraction, I want to make sure that you understand, because this helps later. We'll find out which ones of these work. That's better. In a fraction, this thing right here, this helps so many students. The line right here means divide. So if you want to find out what this is equal to as a decimal, if you're not using your calculator, you'll put the top one inside and the bottom one on the outside and simply divide, okay? And if you forget which one goes inside, I learned from another student that the top dog goes in the house. The top dog gets the doghouse, okay? So this, I want you to know for sure that this line means divide. I'll be asking you that from time to time. Okay, so adding and subtracting right now. Adding and subtracting decimals or fractions. We're going to, you all understand that if we have 5 halves plus 7 halves, 7 halves, that they have the same denominators, and in add and subtract, you have to have common denominators. Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you sign in?
12 over 2.
12 over 2 is exactly right. 12 over 2. And then if you want to find out, we need to simplify this. There's 2 ways. Of course, you can take 12 divided by 2 and get 6. Or you can reduce it, what we call reduce, it's now simplify. You can divide the top and the bottom by the same number. And so you would get 6/1, which is equal to 6. Hi,
Hello,
what's your name?
Naomi.
Naomi, okay. And your name is spelled N-O-E, right? N-O-E-M-I?
No, ma'am, it's Naomi.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's how I was spelling it, but I saw a different spelling.
Yeah.
Okay, whenever you sign out, will you change it?
Yeah.
So that we get it changed. I think names are very important.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. What we're going to do, Naomi, is we're going to work on basics because I don't know where you all are. So I figured the best thing to do is just start with you at the beginning, fill in the gaps, and we'll move on.
Okay.
And are all of you okay with me teaching without a mask? Because I can put my mask back on.
I'm
I'm
fine.
good with it. I don't even like wearing that.
I don't either. And you all, I have no problems. While we're working together, I have no problems with you taking them off. Now, if we find out statewide that you need to have them, I'll let you know.
I don't want
All right?
I can breathe.
I know.
I'll get real sweaty, real hot.
Okay. So all we found out here is that to add and subtract, multiply and divide are different rules. So add and subtracting fractions have to have common denominators. So now that we know that, let's work a problem that doesn't have a common denominator. We decided, Naomi, that it's possible that you guys are okay with these basics. So I'm going to move quickly through these, but I encourage my students to interrupt me. Okay, so wait. There's where I always have my problem. Okay, and let me know. Okay, let's see if I can find something that writes. Okay, let's try 3/4 plus 7/3. Okay, in this case, and one of the things that I would encourage, go ahead. Is it not plugged in? Here.
Oh,
Let's just plug it in. I would encourage you that if you are adding or subtracting fractions, even if they put the problem across, that it's easier to do the steps and a little bit more understandable if you'll put them up and down, okay, in add and subtract. Now, you notice that they do not have common denominators, so we're going to have to find the common denominator. Now, this one's relatively easy. We can see that 4 and 3 go into 12, and that's going to be our least common denominator. Now, I will stop and tell you, if you have trouble finding the least common denominator, if you think, oh, I can't find the lowest one, then you can always multiply the denominators together and get a common denominator. Always. Pardon?
21
This one,
on top. I don't know. I think you get
you're close. Just a minute. In this case, the lowest common denominator is 12. But understand, if you had like 12 and you had 13 or something, and you thought, I don't know the lowest common denominator. Well, it doesn't matter. Just multiply the 12 and the 13, and you will get a common denominator. It may be a big number, and at the end, you may have to simplify,
Reduce it.
but that's okay. Okay, so if you get stuck, multiply the denominators together. Okay, if you do find the lowest common denominator, then when you finish, you don't have to simplify your answer. That's the reason. Okay, now, Jesus, you were awfully close. Here's what we're going to do. Whenever we found the common denominator for both of them, then you ask yourself, I have 3 and I need to multiply it by something to get 12. Well, of course, y'all know that we're multiplying it by 4, right?
Mhm.
And everything you do to the bottom of a fraction has to be done exactly the same way to the top. So we're going to have times 4, which will make 28 twelfths here. Now, you don't do the 4 necessarily with this one. You have to start over again with the other fraction, and you say, what did I multiply this by?
3.
I multiplied by 3, that's correct. And so you have to multiply by 3 up here, which will give you 9. Now you can see that this is our problem now. You don't even have to worry about any of this stuff. We're just going to add these, and notice that the denominators are the same now, so we can add, and you get 37 over 12, okay? And because this was the lowest common denominator, then you don't have to
So we times it, or do we had added?
say that one more time.
The 9 and the 28, do we
Yes.
add it, or do we
Yes,
add it?
you're going to add whatever the problem said. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's right.
That is correct. Now, you don't have to simplify this because it's in the simplest terms, but this is called a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction. The top-heavy is more of a slang. They call it improper fraction because the top is bigger than the bottom. Now, in algebra, most of the time, they're going to just deal with improper fractions. But what if your multiple choice answers on the test have all mixed fractions? We're going to have to know how to change this to a mixed fraction, okay? So, just like I said at the very beginning, this line means divide. So if you want to change to a mixed fraction, we're going to take 37, which is the top dog. This is the top dog. He goes in the house, divide it by 12. And we're actually going to do some long division. This is in case you're not able to use your calculator. You know, those first questions, you don't get to use your calculator, okay? So I'm doing it by hand right now. We'll talk about calculator later. Okay, how many times will 12 go in here? And we know that 3 times will give us 36. And then we subtract and get 1. Now, if you were making a decimal, you would just add a decimal and add zeros, but we don't want that. We want a mixed fraction. So what you do is take your remainder and simply put it over your divisor. And so this is the mixed fraction that equals this. Mixed fraction, improper fraction, both of those have the same value. They mean the same thing. Okay? Now, before we go on, and before I erase, you guys always say, wait, okay, if you need me to wait. Okay, before we go on, I'm going to do one that we're going to deal with, subtract. But I want to practice real quick going from mixed fraction to improper, improper back to mixed, okay? And what I'll do is put a couple up here and let you all have a head start, and we'll look and see. Y'all can see if you get them correct. And then we won't, if you're doing okay, we won't spend very long there. We're gonna have to figure this thing out. Okay. Let's do another one just like that. Let's do 27 over 8. Will you change that to a mixed fraction, please? Jesus is going to do it in his head. Yes.
Uh-oh.
Do you need some paper and a pencil
Probably.
or a marker? Come up. You want to come up? I will never embarrass anybody, but if you would like to come up, I'd like that.
You said into a mixed fraction?
You have to speak up. I'm old.
You said into a mixed one? Into a mixed fraction, you said?
Yes, I want to change it to a mixed fraction, please. You guys are doing great.
Would it be 3 3/8?
3 3/8.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let me see.
27 is the top dog. This means divide. We're going to divide by 8. 8 will go into 27 3 times.
Mhm.
Makes it 24.
Yeah.
And the 3 goes over the divisor, so we have 3 8s. Woo-hoo!
Wee wee. Got that one.
She told me I had some geniuses in here.
I wish.
Yes?
What did she say about me?
Man. What?
So what did she say about me?
She said you were amazing. She said he's a young guy, but he stays on task and that I need to encourage you to look. That's what she told me about you. You can ask her.
I will.
Okay, you do that. Okay, anybody need this still?
No.
Did you do okay, Naomi?
No.
Okay.
that kind of need help on this. I'm like, I've been out of school for so long.
On the division and multiply, is that what your problem is? That's okay. That's okay. If I have all sorts of worksheets,
Okay.
so if you find a weak spot and you would like some worksheets to work on, just text me, okay? And say, I need worksheets on this, and I'll send them to your email,
Oh,
okay? Sometimes I will have them here in class. This is my first day. I'm feeling it out.
Okay.
Okay, now let's go from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. Okay, and I'll remind you of those steps. How about 7 1/2? And this is a mixed fraction because it has big and a fraction. And I want to change it to the improper or top heavy fraction.
Okay.
Do y'all remember how to do that? I call it the check mark.
I think so. I think so.
I start from the big, multiply down,
Yeah.
that's the first part of our check mark, and add what's left.
So 114.
It will be 14 here plus 1,
15.
so you have 15,
15.
and put it over that denominator.
over 2.
It's the
Okay.
check mark.
Oh yeah, because the 2 is always in the bottom. It's
7 times 2 plus 1.
15. So the bottom number never changes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Let's do this one.
Oh.
Is it 35 over 9?
Yes, ma'am. Nice. 35 over 9, because she took 3 times 9 and got 27 and added the 8, which gave her 35. And like Irene said, the bottom stays the same, the
So
denominator.
these are called what?
This is called a mixed fraction.
Mixed fraction.
You probably, it's good that you know the vocabulary because I'll use it.
Mhm.
But mostly I'm interested in you know how to do it,
Okay.
okay? And this is called an improper.
Improper with 2 numbers.
Well, where the top
It's
is bigger than the
than
bottom.
one? Okay.
This one
So proper.
is proper.
Mhm.
It's a proper fraction because it's,
the numbers
I call it normal. It's normal.
bigger.
And we call this improper. We also call it top heavy. I'll call it top heavy from time to time.
So the proper is the numbers bigger than the bottom number?
That's improper.
Improper.
That
Improper.
one's improper, that one's proper.
IMPROPER. Improper fraction.
Im-
This one's proper. And this one is mixed. we'll have lots of vocabulary because I've found out in my 30 plus years that a lot of the problems that students have is they don't understand the vocabulary words that help in the word problems. Everybody seems to hate the word problems, but if we get the vocabulary going, the word problems probably won't be as bad, okay? And we'll hit those, it'll be several weeks before we do word problems, okay?
So if there was the improper one and we had to reduce it, how would we reduce that? Or
Let's do this. I
Okay.
will give you an example. That's a good question. I'll give you an improper. Let's do 48 over 16. Okay? This is an improper fraction, but it is not simplified. So what you would do in this case, you would say, is there a number that I can divide into this and divide into that? It needs to be the same number. Now, sometimes you can't figure out the biggest number, so my suggestion is, if they're even, if both of them are even numbers, divide by 2. Okay, so we're going to divide by 2. Let's pretend we don't know the full number. So we're going to divide by 2, and when we divide by 2, this one will be 24 over 8. But we can look at that, and they're still even numbers, and I still know that I can divide again. Now, some of you can see the bigger number to divide, but let's say you're confused. Well, if it's even, you just keep on dividing by 2. It'll get you there. So we're going to divide by 2 again, and we're going to get 12 over 4. Now, at this point, it's gotten small enough that you can see that both the top and the bottom will divide by 4. But if you were confused or psyched out because it's a test, it's still even. And you can still divide by 2 and divide by 2 until it gets to the bottom. And when it stops being even and even, then you do, good morning. Then try dividing by 3. When it stops being, both of them are even, then try 3. Okay?
But how do we know which number to use? Like the 4 can go into it and the 2 can go into it and the 3. Well, no, not a 3.
What you like to do is if you know a bigger number that will go into it, you can skip steps.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So like here, I could divide by 2 again, and then I would have to divide by 2 again.
Okay.
But when I get to this point, you go, oh, well, 4 will go into that, and 4 will go into that. Let's skip one of those steps and just divide it by 4. So if you know the largest number that will go into it, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But this is a process you can
It's the
do
same.
if you get messed up or get confused. And so we have 3 over 1, which brings me to another foundational aspect of math. That 3 over 1, if we have any number over 1, we can ignore the 1 on the bottom. You can't ignore the 1 on the top, but you can ignore the 1 on the bottom. And the same is true if you have 5, but you need a fraction to work the problem, you can put it over 1, okay?
Yeah.
You can go back and forth
Okay.
for a whole number. Are you guys okay with that? Jesus? Okay.
Yeah, you gotta keep an eye on her too.
Yeah.
No, ain't nothing.
What? Y'all can help me keep an eye on you.
That's the problem.
They've got your number, Jesus.
They do?
We know you.
All right.
They got my number up.
We're going to do a subtraction problem, but I'm going to do subtraction with mixed numbers. Okay.
think that was the,
which now that you know everything, you know everything. So now that you know, we're going to add just a special little step in here, and I'll show you what it is. You already know how to do it. Let's take 3 1/3 minus 1 2/5. Okay, here's our problem. Now, the first thing we see, well, probably the first thing you see is they're mixed numbers. What do I do with those? But the second thing you should look at is that they do not have common denominators. So we're going to have to figure out both of those steps. The first step we're going to do is change both the mixed fractions into an improper fraction. Now, in school, you might have learned how to borrow fractions or carry fractions. It's a little bit more involved. And so what I'm going to show you now is easier. Okay? So you guys know how to do this. Change these to improper fractions. Jesus, what's the top one? Change it to an improper fraction. Check mark.
oh, okay.
7, 5.
3 times 3.
I did the bottom one.
10 over 3.
10 over 3 should be
7 and 5, yeah.
okay. 3 times 3 plus 1 is 10 over 3. Bottom one, Irene?
7, 5.
7 over 5. Very nice. And Jesus had all of those, right? You knew. Okay. Now, here's our problem that we're going to deal with. You don't have to worry about this part anymore because you have improper fractions. But what was the other problem that we had to deal with?
The bottom times it.
We need common denominators. So this was your extra step this time only because they were mixed fractions. Now we go back to normal and we say, what's common denominator?
15.
15. Let's use 15. Common means both of them have to have 15. That's what common means. Okay, so we're going to look at the bottom and say, what did I multiply by?
3.
By 3. So the top is going to be?
21.
Very nice. What did I have to multiply the bottom by here? 5. So the top is going to be?
15.
50.
50.
Right? Because times 5.
Okay, times 5. Oh.
Okay, somebody was adding, but that's okay. Now, you have to remember, when we get common denominators, we're ready to go, but you need to look back and make sure what we're going to do. Be sure that you don't add. And so our answer now is going to be?
So it's going to be takeaway, so it's going to be 50 took away 21.
I'm staring at you, Jesus.
31.
Try again.
29.
29, very nice. Because we had to borrow. We had to borrow here and make this a 4.
Did
Okay.
we take away or no?
Oh, I mean, made this 10.
Oh,
Sorry.
we times it. We times it.
We took away the,
No, it's subtract.
Oh, subtract. Oh.
there we go. That was right.
There we go. So we've got 29 over 15.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You look at this, not evens, right? We're going to talk about divisibility rules, and this is going to help you here in a little bit. But 9 and 5, not even, so it's not going to divide by 2, right?
By 3.
It'll divide by 5 if it ends in a 5 or a 0. So this will divide by 5, but that won't, and it has to divide by the same thing. We can go through everything and find out that this is actually a prime number, and so it won't go down any further. Now, I will stop and tell you this, that as you work your problems in your GED test, if you want to check, and you can use your calculator, all you have to do is put this in your calculator, does anybody have their own calculator or
On
you
the
just,
phone.
you use the one?
No,
Oh,
I use my phone.
no, you'll need the one.
Oh, the,
Yes, the ones that we use, and I have them. I'm not going to stop and get those out right now,
Okay.
and we'll practice this. But you can put this in your calculator, the one that we use, press enter, and it'll give you a decimal. Then you just use the toggle switch. It'll change it back to a fraction in the lowest terms.
oh.
It will do it for you if you are allowed to use a calculator. So you have to know how to do it by hand also, right? But the calculator will make sure and tell you this one, after you change to decimal and then toggle the switch, it'll come right back to this because it is the lowest terms. Y'all see? Now let's go one step further. I want you to make this into a mixed fraction, please. Make this into a mixed fraction.
Okay. $29.15.
This
Okay.
15 will only go in there one because if it's 2 times, it'd be 30. So it'll go in one time. You put 15 here and subtract.
So it'd be like
So we're
1,
subtracting
14,
29 from
15.
Yes. Or the way you say it is 15 from 49, but you're thinking correctly.
Okay.
And yes, ma'am.
Oh. So mixed number is divided.
And you guys do understand that these are the exact same value. They're just in different form. This is in the improper form and this is in the mixed form, but they are exactly the same value. Same answers, everything.
So that's our mixed number.
This is your mixed number because it has a whole number and a fraction together,
Terms.
okay? It's called a mixed fraction. Good, good, good. Yay. Let's see. What I try to do in class is probably not mess with you more than 30 to 45 minutes. We've been 30 minutes. What do you think? Let's go ahead and multiply and divide. Let's do that, and then we'll review multiply and divide tomorrow before we go to negatives and positives.
Okay.
Are you feeling comfortable with me going on?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You're feeling comfortable?
Don't put too comfortable.
I was going to say, don't let him get too comfortable.
No, because you'll be hearing Z's.
Do you have another pencil?
Huh?
Another pencil?
No, we have.
Hey, Zeus, I have to put you
Do
closer
we have some
tomorrow.
pencils, ma'am?
Would you happen to have a pencil?
You want pencils? What do you want pencils?
Because we need a base.
I will get you a bunch.
Wait, what about me being closer?
I'll have
I
to
left
get you
all my
closer. I
pencils and
can't.
pencils.
And I thought I had one in here from the last time we came.
Mm-hmm.
This out of here. I was like, where did I do
I
my
lost
pencil?
everything.
These are the pencils I love. They're pump pencils.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do we still get breaks?
Here you go. Do you want this?
I got this.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Aren't they the neatest things ever?
We on camera, miss.
You can say hi to everybody,
That'd be
Jesus, and then go
nice.
sit down.
Cool.
Hi guys.
He's a teacher today.
We gonna learn something today. Multiplying fractions.
All right. Now, before I start, I need you to get your head straight. Because adding and subtracting fractions has one rule. Multiply and divide, totally different rule. But guess what? You're going to like it because we don't have to get common denominators.
Okay.
In multiply and divide, you do not have to have common denominators. All right, here we go. So if I just have 2/3 times 1/6. All right, 2/3 times 1/6. Notice that we do not have common denominators, but this is multiply, so we don't care. Now I'm going to show you the first way, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut way, okay? So when you're multiplying, it's this easy. Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, simplify, okay? So if I take 2 times 1, I have 2. If I take 3 times 6, I have 18. I look at those, they're both even. What do they divide by?
2.
2. So if we divide by 2, then I get 1/9. Now, when one of those is 1, you're done. You're definitely at the lowest terms. It's not going to go any lower. So 1/9. Easy enough?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna like it. Okay, now I'm going to show you some cross canceling. Cross canceling is the same as simplifying an answer. What you do is you look for any top in the problem, any bottom that will divide by the same number. In this case, now it can be this top with this bottom, this top with this bottom, this top with this bottom, this top with this bottom. It has to be a top with a bottom, okay? In this case, you can look here, and we have a top and a bottom that will divide by 2, right?
I remember doing that.
So if I divide this by 2, I'm going to have 1 left. And if I divide this one by 2, I'm going to have 3 left. Is that correct? Notice how I just divided a top with a bottom. It always has to be a top with a bottom. And I divided them by the same number. That's called cross canceling. And when you do that, look what happens when you multiply across. You're going to take 1 times 1 now, and you're going to get 1 on top, and 3 times 3 now for the bottom. So cross canceling gives you the simplified version of the answer without having to simplify at the end. Neither one of these methods is better than the other. Do what's comfortable with you.
You said it was cross what?
Say it again.
Cross what?
Cross canceling.
Cancel.
Cross cancel. So let's try another one. And use whatever method you want to use.
Okay.
Do y'all want calculators in case? Let's do these. Now remember, you can't take these out of the classroom. They
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
stay. How many of you are trying the cross canceling?
Mhm.
Good. You're trying also, Naomi?
I'm gonna do both ways.
Okay, that's great. I love that. Jesus,
I just did straight across.
you did straight across, and then I need you to simplify it.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it comes out an improper fraction, I want you to also change it to a mixed fraction. Practice it all.
Shoot, I got blanked. Okay,
Pardon?
I got blanked.
Uh,
Oh, let me see.
we okay so far?
It's one of like 112? No.
112, I think so. I did it in my head. 42, yes.
Okay.
I got to the 28 over 21, but is it, I did mine with a 4 instead of a 2. Can we do it with a 4 too?
Here,
Yeah,
you did with a 4.
right there.
Yes,
I did it
ma'am.
with the 4.
That would combine these two, see? And you would be able to skip and go straight to there. Yes,
So, and then we still have to break that one down, right? The 28 and
yes,
21.
because it still will divide by 7, both the
Okay.
top and the bottom. But again, if you're not sure, let's try this in your calculator. Now you can do two things. This will give you a fraction. Or remember that the line means divide, so you can do 28 divided by 21. See? Press enter and it gives you a decimal, but toggle. This is the toggle switch. It reduces it for you. See there?
Okay, okay.
Isn't that cool? You can even go to the first one. Let's do the other thing so you can get used to it. Let's start with the 112. Okay. Now use the arrow. And you have to scoot over. There, now press it. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to do this by hand in case you have to do it without calculating your test. Okay?
Thank you.
Now let's do some cross canceling. This was if we just multiply straight across and then reduce or simplify. Now let's try this by cross canceling. Look at any top with any bottom that will divide by the same thing. So you see the 7 and the 21 will both divide by 7. So if you divide this by 7, you're going to get 1. And if you divide this by 7, you're going to get 3. But that's not the only cross canceling that you can do. Look at the 16 and the 4. They'll both divide by 4. So if I divide this by 4, I'm going to get 1. If I divide this by 4, I'm going to get 4. So now, when you multiply straight across, we're going to take the 1 times 4 over 1 times 3, which will be our 4/3. It's an improper fraction, so we need to know how to change it to a mixed in case that's what the answers show on your test. So I simply take the 4 and divide it by 3. 3 will go in here 1 time. And I have 1/3. So whether you cross cancel or you find the big numbers and reduce, either way is going to be fine. Whichever way is comfortable for you, that's what you need to do.
That was a tricky one.
Are we doing good?
Mm-hmm.
Doing fine? We're doing fine. We're going to do one more multiply. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 divides, and we'll be done as far as this is. And I will get you some information on the essential education and tell you some other stuff. And then I'll see if I don't have some worksheets for you to use. I think I might have some in the file. If not, we'll print you out some. All right. One more of multiplication. What do you?
I'm gonna need help with this one.
That's
I
okay.
don't know where to start.
That's okay.
I know I got break on the other one for a while, but
Whenever we were adding and subtracting them, we saw a mixed number.
I know a 4 is gonna be 4 over 1, right?
She knows that we're going to make this because we're dealing with fractions. What do you think?
Is that the check mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
That's gonna be like, yeah,
Okay. Oh,
12, 13, 14, 15, 17, yeah.
it was
Because it was 12, I heard you say, and add 5. 12 and add 5. 17, 18, 22, 17 over the denominator.
and it's this first one is times
Yes.
and then plus.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Times and plus. Questions? I think there's a rule in there. Yeah, I saw it in the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Maybe I should show you when class is over. Okay? You're a toot. Kim told me that too. What are you asking me?
I wonder. Like breaks.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you guys about my breaks. I don't have a break. What I do is teach a lesson and then we stop. And I give you stuff to work on and you just take it whenever you are adults.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you take a break like some of my students did, they take a smoke break and then come back. Okay.
That's
Also, I was told to remind you that since we're having to juggle only 6 people in the classroom because of distancing, we have to juggle remote with being in the classroom. They told me to remind you that if you came today, you have to keep coming or you lose your spot. We'll put somebody else in your spot. And then you go to remote or you have to go wait in line again and we'll put somebody else in your spot. Yes,
On the
ma'am.
23rd, I have a doctor's appointment at 9, and I had it a long time ago before.
Okay.
Would that be a problem?
I think that might be okay. I'll check with the office and
Okay.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Right, I have it on the 23rd.
And I have a ADHD appointment for my son on the 4th.
On the 4th, so that's day after tomorrow. Okay, I'll just check. I'll let you guys know tomorrow. I think it will probably be okay because you tell me enough in advance.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna
Okay,
let you know.
I just forgot about that.
but you can't just not show up. We'll just take your name off.
That's the only thing I had.
Okay,
Yeah,
23rd and
And
4th.
the 4th. That is just another checkup. He was
Well, that's
diagnosed.
important. It's
Yeah.
very important. Okay. Does anybody need explanation on this one? We're going to go to divide and then we're going to stop the verbal part of this lesson. Everybody okay with this? How many of you tried your cross canceling? Was it okay?
Mhm.
Do you get the idea of cross canceling? Okay, if you like the other way, no problem. Were you able to change to a mixed fraction?
Uh-huh.
I got that part, and then I remembered we had to divide by 3.
By 3?
I mean, divide 34 by 3.
Oh, to get this.
You get
Yes,
a
yes.
divided.
And the
Yeah.
only time you have to do that is if you've worked the problem and the multiple choice answers are all in this form.
Okay.
That's the only time you have to do that.
Is there times where they'll just leave it like that?
Yes, most of the time we'll
Okay.
leave it like this. But there's a possibility.
They'll just want to just throw a curveball.
Of course.
On the
You need to know everything.
Okay.
on the cross, on the other cross,
Cross canceling?
yeah,
Yes.
I think I get stuck there.
Okay.
Do we times it or do we divide automatically what the numbers are?
You divide because you're wanting to simplify it
Simplify,
down
okay.
lower. That's why you divide there. And we'll continue to do this when we move into other problems
Okay.
that still involve this. You know, we'll go over it again and again and again. One of my teacher education classes told me that in order to get a student to remember something, you have to say it 42 times.
Oh, wow.
So you might get tired of me saying the same thing, but I'm working at 42.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to divide. This is going to make you even happier. Okay, promise. let's do 3/4 divided by 1/2. Okay? Write that down, I'll tell you the rule. We don't divide fractions. We never divide fractions.
So we times them.
Yes, we times it, but remember, in mathematics, if you make a change here, there's always going to be another change to balance it out. Like in equations, we're going to balance them out. You have to do something here and here. In fractions, just now, if we divide something here, it has to happen here.
Top and bottom.
We have to balance every time. If you change one thing, you got to change another thing, okay? So if we're going to change this to times, then we change the fraction that comes after. The front one stays the same, but we have to flip the other one. So it's going to be 2/1. And then you go right back to multiplying. 6/4, divide top and bottom, and we have 3/2.
So we never divide fractions.
Nope, you change it to a multiply, but you know if you change one thing, you've got to find the other thing that has to be changed. There's always a balance, always in mathematics. How does it feel?
A little bit tricky. We'll get there.
Okay, let's do another one. It's kind of nice that there's not another rule, right?
Yeah.
That you can change it to multiply, and you already know multiplies rules. Okay, let me skip, and here we go.
Cool. I won't.
110.
Almost, you changed the wrong one.
Okay, so it's gonna be 10/1.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We leave the first one,
Oh yeah, always do the first
we
So
change and flip the second one.
10/1, right? Oh, 10, yeah. No.
So that gives us 10/1, which amounts to just 10.
That's what I did. I did the first one.
Now, when they do this in school, there is a saying that they use that might help you. They say, drop, that means just drop this one down, drop, flip it to multiply, and recip. Drop, flip, recip means reciprocal. Reciprocal means to flip your fraction. Drop, flip, recip. Okay, on division. If it works for you, you'll find out as we go on. I have some really stupid stories that help people remember things. We have a song that helps people remember things. Okay. Okay, one more division, and then I'm going to let you guys give it a try on some worksheets.
No issues.
Let's test your powers.
No. Oh. The 2, and they keep. Oh, shoot.
Remember, there's gonna be a middle thing before you drop flip reset.
Oh.
There's gonna be a middle step where you have to change this to an improper fraction, change
So what
this
do
to an improper fraction,
So what are we doing?
and then drop flip reset.
Okay.
So here we go. We have to do this middle thing because we have mixed numbers. So here we go. What's that?
That's a
6
check
and
mark,
8.
so
8
3
thirds.
times, 2 times 3 is 6, and then 2, 8
Over.
over 3.
Good. Naomi. Now remember, this step didn't change the divide. It's only changing the mixed fractions. Naomi, tell me this one.
31 over
Over.
6.
Okay, notice you don't do all the changing at the same time. Change one thing at a time or you will start to get really screwed up. Okay? This first step just says, I don't want to deal with mixed fractions. Now, you can change to a multiply. Let's change to a multiply. What do we do?
8 times 31.
8 thirds times,
31 over 6. No?
you change this.
Oh, 6 over 31.
Oh, yes. It,
You can see that if that was even, this is not even. And so since it won't divide by 2, then you try. Right. Okay.
And that's a proper fraction.
It's proper, yes. So you don't have to go to mixed, correct? What do y'all think? You ready to try?
yeah.
Okay, the rules for add and subtract have to have common denominators. Multiply and divide don't have to, but you can cross cancel if you like. Are we good? Tomorrow's negatives and positives. Okay. I will look for some worksheets, and if I don't have them, I will print you out some so we can work in here. What I usually do, I don't go around, and because of COVID, I'm not going to breathe in your face. But anybody that has a question, I'll be right there. I pull up an extra chair, and you guys just come up there. I'll put on my mask if you need me to in close distance, okay? Are we all good? Okay. Jesus, you may take a break, but come back. By the time you come back, I will have some work for you to do. Okie dokie, Smokey.